Welcome to Astalia, gentlemen, and today we're back with an Empire vs. Vampire Count showdown. It's going to be Balthazar Gelt facing off against the Red Duke, or El Sif as he is known. And we are going to be coming in with a steam tank in a very mobile Empire build. So there are a couple ways to play the Empire against Vampire Counts. I've always considered it to be a little bit of a tough matchup. It can be tricky for sure, but there's two styles of play I've kind of ironed out and I feel pretty confident trying. One of them is using greatswords with triple Demogryph Knight and having like a Volkmar the Grim box and just kind of grinding it out. That one really comes down to your Demogryph Knight play. Like, can you get the good engagements against the Blood Knights, or are they going to drop zombie summons on top of you? And then, you know, it's a little bit tough. And personally, I like this style of play a little bit more because I feel like I have more control over the battle, whereas that one I feel like the Vampire Counts have more control. So in this case, we have triple Pistolier, a double War Wagon. So the War Wagon's here basically to shoot Blood Knights, Pistoliers to kill the dogs as well as the bats. Then aside from that, we do have a very defensive box of Flagellant Sigmar Sons, you know, the standard front line, backed up by one greatsword, two halberds, and two spears as well. And a single Empire Knight just as a sweeper. So if like a bat lands or something like that, or you're able to catch a dire wolf, like they can help clean that up. But Balthazar Gelt basically here just to punish blobs. Vampire Counts love to blob and use invocation, so he can kind of counterplay that a little bit. And that is it. So we're just going to be skirmishing pretty heavily. And what's really cool is while we skirmish, the meme tank also shoots. And normally Vampire Counts can shut down any artillery with a single zombie summon, but the meme tank cannot be shut down in that way. So I actually feel like it's quite strong in this matchup. For my opponent's army, pretty classic stuff. I mean, Fellbats backed by a couple Graveguard, zombies, you know, triple Blood Knight, I think. No, double Blood Knight with Dire Pack, and then it's going to be the Red Duke up in the sky. So somewhat meta. You know, the Red Duke isn't the most common pick, but, you know, sometimes you'll see like a Lamian Lord or like there's different choices. Vampire Counts have a fair amount of good lords, so the skirmishing is underway here. We are going to be shooting in with the Pistoliers into the old Fellbats up in the sky. Getting a little bit of damage in there, tickling that pickle. And this feels good. Nice juking from my opponent. Avoids a couple of the shots. Could have been far worse. But, you know, I was happy with that. The wagons, in the meantime, going to be taking some pot shots up at the Vampire Lord up in the sky, chipping some HP, and every little bit of damage you can do to the Vampiric Lords is nice, because, you know, healing cap in the late game is really a thing in this matchup, so being able to kind of lower them down a little bit early, even if it's only a couple hundred HP, is certainly a very good feeling. So there we shoot at the Fellbats. We drag down quite a few. Looks like we kill some models, and it's really nice. Once you kill the Fellbats and the dogs, you pretty much have complete freedom in this matchup to just run around and do whatever you please with your skirmishers, which is very, very devastating for sure. Vampire Counts have a couple ways of corralling you, but overall it's kind of tough for them. Typically the Pistoliers and the wagons, when working together, can do some good work. Normally in this build, I like to use Karl Franz with a Lifecaster, but in this one I wanted to go with Gelt, not only because I think the AoE is very good from Final Transmutation, but also because he's much cheaper. It literally saved me like 1,200 gold or 1,400 gold. It allowed me to bring greatswords and two halberds as well. So going for a little bit more of a wider build. So here you can see the Blood Knights just getting popped by the meme tank, many casualties being taken, and the wagon's also able to pick off a few. And I accidentally clicked Balthazar Gelt into them, but thankfully I caught that at the last second. I was like, holy shit! That basically would have been an instant game loss if that had gone down. So, well, maybe not. I don't know. It would have been really, really bad though, to say the least. Like, I doubt he would have escaped. I would have gotten off like one Final Transmutation, so. Alright, so skirmishing is still underway, shooting up at the Red Duke up in the sky. Pistoliers here unleashing some salvo fire here into the Dire Pack, trying to take out these very angry doggos. And my Empire Knights did come out from my battle lines, just in case the Dire Pack wasn't, you know, paying attention, or my opponent wasn't, and I could kind of get a free charge on them. That was kind of the game plan. But the meme tank's still shooting in. Blood Knight's getting hit with an overcasted invo. Looks like it was to heal the Red Duke as well as the bats, and many of his creatures of the night are starting to heal back up to full health, with the exception of the Blood Knight. So the meme tank, Faith, Steel, and Gunpowder. I think we have all of it here. No Faith. I mean, we got Steel and Gunpowder. It is a Balthazar Gelt army, so we got two of the three. I guess we should have thrown in like a Warrior Priest or something. Anyway, shooting at the Fellbats, bring them down to 40 models, and the wagons are blasting into either zombies, unfortunately, or the Blood Knights. But I was giving attack orders to the Blood Knights and hoping that they would actually shoot those bad boys. The Vampiric army still moving in. Blood Knights here down to 25 models, and these ones are down to 40 models. So it feels pretty good to get that damage on those guys. But, you know, I have played this build quite a bit, and I've had situations where I like do a lot of damage early and then run out of ammo, and I kind of just grind it down. But the idea is that even if that happens, Balthazar Gelt is there to kind of cover you and really drop those big AoE magic bombs to nuke the Graveguard and the other elite troops. And I do have some, you know, great weapons as well via the Greatsword. So I think Greatswords will handedly defeat Graveguard without support. So we will see. So the Dire Pack moving in, I think they had a charge order to go after the Pistolier, so I do countercharge them with the Flagellants there. And in the rest of the frontline engagement, I will be pulling back the Sigmar Sons and letting the Greatswords move into fight. So obviously you want to try and get the optimal engagements in the front. Can't get them all across the board. The meme tank going to be falling back, and now I just, you know, the Dire Pack does partially get away, but I'm just going to be using these guys as like a backline shooting now. The positioning of my fight was a little bit poor because I couldn't shoot things on the lower ground. Nice little Scab's Wraith going down there. Almost hit both my units, but I was able to dodge that. Now the Great Swords of Sigmar, they got them out. They're ready to go. Let's get in there, baby. And they're going to be doing battle here with Ye Old Graveguard. So it should be a pretty messy fight, but the Great Swords, especially with the 3 chevrons I invested, should be pretty dominant. So there's the first summon. One of the reasons why I didn't like bother with silver bullets or other things like that, because wagons and pistoliers don't really care about that type of stuff, right? Main tank has fallen back. We'll be turning to shoot in a second, and the Empire Knights are being used to just clean up Fellbats and harass units, while we do also get a big final transmutation. It nails the Red Duke, hits the Blood Knights as well as the Graveguard there, and some more Blood Knights up on the top. So that was a brutal one. We got a lot of damage, and yeah, really good for punishing people for like blobbing up and things like that. So you know, I was quite happy about that. We'll be wearing off here in a second, but you can see the Red Duke, since it was overcasted, quite nice. Now, over the course of a full game, you can usually get 2 overcasted final transmutations. What you do is in the beginning, you pop Arcane Conduit, but do not use a Staff of Alans. That will get you up to 30 pretty quickly, and Arcane Conduit has a short cooldown. And then once you get up to 30, you overcast the final transmutation, and then as soon as you do that, you basically use Staff of Alans and Arcane Conduit. That will get you back up to enough Winds of Magic to be able to use that pretty darn quickly, so it's quite nice. So now Halberds are moving in to intercept, and you know, just like had I not been able to deal with the Cav with my magic and, you know, harass, I now have Halberds and other units to help, right? Great Swords able to buzz through those, yeah, Graveguard, man, they really got wrecked. Now they're fighting against White Kings, which they're actually formidable against. They are infantry and armored, so right, the armor-piercing infantry of those units should be pretty good. And it's looking like we're in a pretty commanding position in this game, as the last of the Blood Knights are just trying to skirmish and, you know, find some engagements here, but the Halberds do screen them out, and the Pistoliers continue to drop just brutal salvos of fire. While the Red Duke trying to juke the wagons are in guard mode, so you can see even with a zombie summon on top of them, they still shoot, and that's one of the cool things about the dragons there. Looks like a breath attack or some sort of an invocation going down. Brutal, though. He ends up taking overcast damage, which was a little bit unfortunate there. So the wagons of Sigmar moving about, Balthazar Gelt just kind of cackling in the shadows. I had a very feisty idea of potentially charging the Red Duke with Gelt. I was like, maybe he's low enough, but, you know, it's a mistake. I did not feel like throwing the game in that manner, because if Gelt died, you know, I don't know, maybe there could be some witchcraft with the Red Duke coming back. Anyways, my front line, the Brave Greatswords, finally get a break, but they did very well. I'm very proud of those guys. And the Sigmar Sons will be holding firm, while the Empire Knights do lance down the hill with the Fanatics of Sigmar. I mean, okay, we got some faith. Flagellants are in that category for sure. They're the faithful of Sigmar, the devotees of Sigmar. So certainly got some faith in this build. So we got all the criteria, and I feel like that's very essential. The Vampire Army looking pretty worse for wear, as they are running into some army losses here. Pistoliers moving about, and up in the sky, the Vampire Lord is being shot by the Steam Tank, which is in guard mode. And the War Wagons finishing off the last of the Blood Knights. The Powder doing a lot of damage this game. I would imagine each of the wagons probably got over 1,000 value this game, just kind of shooting at the vampiric forces. And against vampires, you have to get a lot of value, because oftentimes you have to kill things twice over, because they are foul, spooky undead. So a little bit of a grind right now, as we do have those units, but more or less we just kind of sniped the Vampire Lord, and that will be leading to some rapid army losses as the Pistoliers just keep doing their thing. The Lord falls to the wagons as well as the Steam Tank. And that is going to be it, as Balthazar Gelt drops one more final transmutation just to finish off the White Kings. Granted, it wasn't necessary due to the army losses. So, well played. It was a fun one. It's a build I've had some pretty good success with. I've lost with it a handful of times, but I've also had some great work with it. And it's a hard matchup, man. It's a hard one. But I think if people aren't expecting this, you can do really well. But again, if now that this video's out, of course, on the old YouTube, and if somebody were to like look and know it was coming, I think vampires could counter it pretty easily with just a lot more mobility, like bringing more Black Knights and skirmishers that are just shielded and hard to deal with. And then I would probably just lose, right? But it's a good build to have in your repertoire, and you can mix up between this and, you know, standard. But usually I ban vampire counts anyways with Empire. My bans are usually dwarves and vampire counts. But, you know, if you're feeling confident, you know, and your opponent maybe doesn't know your builds, give it a try. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Well played to my opponent, Samurai Style of the Ama clan, and that is it for now. Take care.